We're going to start this off on a good note. I feel really good. My name is Phoenix. I'm in Cambodia right now. I'm 25, and if you don't know me, now you do. Nice to meet you, friend. Okay, so what this video is about is I have been traveling for the past 3 years, and what I want to do is I want to inspire people my age, women and men alike. I started traveling when I was 23. Well, the end of 22, and then I turned 23 on my birthday in Costa Rica. And what I think we should talk about is I kind of want to go into the country that I'm in right now, but I also want to go into the countries that I've been in. So I'm going to quickly breeze through Cambodia. It's very underdeveloped. There's some underdeveloped places and huge culture shock. I don't know how to describe it. I don't want to make it negative. I really like Cambodia. There's some places that are pretty clean. I'm in a really awesome apartment right now. Thank God. It's so clean, and I'm on the 11th floor. I'm overlooking basically all of, I think it's Phnom Penh. I forgot what it's called, but I definitely really liked Siem Reap. There's so many temples and it's very sacred. And why I'm here is because I'm going to Vietnam. I'm going to Vietnam. Ah, gosh, I don't even want to go into Costa Rica. I just want to tell you about the last couple of months because there's like constant new things going on. I was in Thailand, now I'm in Cambodia, I'm going to Vietnam, maybe even Philippines after that. So, before I go off in this huge long tangent, I just wanted to let you know what my life is doing, how my life is doing, and also tell you that if you are 25 or if you're 35 or if you're 45 or if you're 50, like this traveling does not have to be super expensive. Traveling doesn't have to be super expensive. I would actually even say traveling the world is less expensive than renting a house or renting an apartment, even in the US. I'm from Vegas, so it's really expensive there. I was born in California, it's really expensive there too. So, leaving those places and actually coming to places like Southeast Asia or coming to places like South America, um, our money goes a lot farther and we get to experience all these beautiful things that we would have never even thought of, especially Americans, because we tend not to leave our country, we tend not to even leave our hometown, and we just get stuck, you know? And that's just not the life that I wanted to live. So, what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna just start this journey with you of just telling you all the countries and all the ways that you can really explore your life, because this is the only life that we're going to get that we remember right now. So let's just keep going, okay? um I'm really enjoying the sensation of holding this mic, by the way. Okay, so Costa Rica. I was 22, living in a 4-bedroom house. I had 4 cats and 2 rabbits and like 100 fish and a roommate and all these. Like, I was the head of the house, okay? And this was all me at 22 with my credit score, my money. That we'll get to that later, but um, it was this huge responsibility that I couldn't handle anymore, because imagine being a 22-year-old just the head of the house, and like you have to be the one with the pants on. You don't even have any room for a man, even if you wanted to come into your life, or like all these things, just all these huge responsibilities that I wasn't aware that I was feeding into the rat race, even though I wasn't like working a 9 to 5. So, um, before my birthday, my 23rd birthday, my best friend, she told me, let's go to Costa Rica. And I had never been out of the country. I had applied for my passport because my ex-boyfriend and ex-girlfriend, I was in a poly triad. We'll talk about that later. But they invited me to go to Bali with them, and then they didn't tell me when, and they just left without me, and it really hurt my feelings. But my best friend came and was like, let's go to Costa Rica at the same time frame. So she saved my life because I was just going to be sad at home crying because the love of my lives had just invited me somewhere and then not told me any details. So like invited me and uninvited me, that's the worst. But I ended up having a great experience by going to Costa Rica with Ewan. And Ewan, she's 10 years older than me. She's super awesome. She inspires me all the way. Wow. We'll even get to that later too, because I just want to share this with you. When I went to Costa Rica, I had no idea what to expect. We were walking on the street and it kind of felt like a slum. There's like bars everywhere and it's just like confusing and I don't really know what to make of it because this is the first time that I had left US. And we're walking just to find some internet somewhere. We find this huge mega mall, and then this guy in the elevator looks at me and says, "Cafe?" And I looked at my best friend, and she's like, "I don't drink coffee. I drink Hugo." Hugo is juice. So this man does not speak a lick of English, okay? He doesn't speak any English and he takes us to the bank so that we can change our money. He gets us some he didn't even get us a drink immediately, but my best friend, she's a pro. She's been to so many countries and this is my first one. And I'm just looking at this guy like stranger danger and she's like, the worst thing that can happen is probably not going to happen. Let's just go. So we get in his truck and he drives us to the mountains and brings us to the most gorgeous plantation of just coffee and it's beautiful. It's a very famous coffee shop. I'm not going to say their name because they're funding um watermelon right now in 2024. So F you. Anyway, it was a great plantation and amazing coffee shop. Is just so well put together and it was so luxury. There was even a waterfall. Just I don't know how else to describe it. It's just acres and acres of coffee plants and a huge waterfall, and we're just overlooking this entire mountain covered in coffee plants while we're sitting in this cafe. And we're just Google translating back and forth between our friend and it's so funny the men that we end up meeting. He was a entrepreneur and he actually sold meat. So he sold meat from Costa Rica to maybe Florida. I don't remember, somewhere in the US. He was selling meat, pounds and pounds and pounds of meat to the US. And it was just so amazing just being fed and treated like what I will say is that the Costa Rican people, the ticos and the ticas, I felt immediately that I was protected and I was met with the best good people immediately. So he took care of us. We didn't have a room booked. He even told us, like, you can stay in my house. And when we stayed at his house, he literally didn't even try to sleep in the same bed. He slept in his kids' room and the mattress was on the floor and we slept in his bed and his bed was so clean and everything was just so clean and nice and it was just such a great experience in the beginning to be welcomed by someone who doesn't even speak our language and just wants us to see their country. And he took us even the next day to a whole bunch of different waterfalls. And then I even got to go horseback riding through a waterfall. And when we got off the horses, the guide told us to taste the water, and the water tasted like lemons because of the minerals inside the water. It was so, so cool. And even though there was another waterfall that we went to, there's so many different waterfalls in Costa Rica. My personal favorite was the one that was super blue. It was so blue. You could see that it was so blue. And I don't know what makes water blue. I don't know if it's because it's clean, but it was turquoise. It was so blue. And it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful to see something like that. So after the waterfalls and all the fun stuff, me and my friend decided to go towards, I wonder if we went and did the zip line first. Hmm. Actually, I think we went to Tabacone Hot Springs. Tabacone Hot Springs is super, it's up there, it's up north. We probably went 6 hours north into the country, and it's a waterfall that goes through a volcano. So the water is thermal water, so it's kind of warm. And I got to swim in that water, and my friend doesn't really like swimming, but I convinced her to come with me, and I was carrying a camping gear the whole time. I brought my tent with me. So we're just swimming in this water. We're enjoying the thermal water. And it starts becoming nighttime. There's this details. I'll give you some details. So I was swimming in the water, and I noticed that there was a man peeking from behind the bushes staring at me. And the only thing I could see between the leaves was like his lips. And he bit his lips while he was looking at me. And it turned me on because I thought it was like, wow, I'm just enjoying my life. I'm being natural. And this guy, I don't know who it is, but he's looking at me. I ended up making friends with him. And then later on in the night, we were surrounded by all these guys, and I was nervous because this is my first time out of the country, and there's all these guys, like, what can happen. But she kept reassuring me and telling me what can happen usually doesn't. So I just trusted her, and I trusted the experience, and it started raining. Nobody could speak English, but they wanted to know where we lived. I told them I had a tent, and they were like, "We'll help you build it." And it's pouring rain. I'm like, "No, I don't need help. It's so easy." I didn't know how to build a tent, by the way. So a group of like 5 men all got together to build my tent in the rain for me and my best friend. It was so nice. It was so nice. It made me feel so good that even in the middle of the jungle, when you could be totally taken advantage of, and that instead they just wanted us to be comfortable and camp safely. And they built the tent for us really quickly, and then they left. They left us alone all night, and me and my best friend just laid there chatting and enjoying our time. We got so hungry in the middle of the night. She said, "I wish we could get an Uber Eats." And we just went to sleep. Funny thing, if you know anything about manifestation, we woke up in the morning to one of the men waking us up and saying, "Hello, hello, breakfast, breakfast." He brought us hot food. I drank the coffee, and there was hot empanadas, We just ate the empanadas and we had the whole waterfall to ourselves. So, this is the part of the story where, if you're still listening, this is just the beginning. And these are experiences that anyone can have. It's not like something, I don't know if anyone even wants to have these experiences. Some people are just really comfy in their house. But when I go out of my comfort zone, it gives me more life experience and wisdom and vigor and keeps me young, you know. So we left the waterfall very, very, very happy. Then we went to Monteverde, which is a huge mountain. Not even a mountain. There's like this volcano and a mountain. I don't know how to describe it. There's so many active volcanoes in Costa Rica. It's amazing. So I went with my friend to this volcano and this the longest zip line in Central America, they call it. And we did a whole bunch of zip lines, and even I jumped. I did a Tarzan jump where they tie you to a rope and then you jump like 20 meters down and you just swing into the forest and you just keep swinging. I love adrenaline things like that. It's so nice. And the way we got there was through boat. So we went over this huge lake with a whole bunch of other people, and we met a guy there and we shared him. Let's keep it not explicit, but we shared him because that's just what me and my best friend like to do. And then it's just bonding between her and I. It's a good bonding experience when you experience pleasure with your best friend. Let me take a breath. Intermittent break, just for air, oxygen, and a little bit of swag. Good vibes, baby. Good vibes. Okay, after Monteverde, let me check my notes real quick because I have been to so many countries within the past 3 years that sometimes I forget, you know. Oh, okay. So after that, me and my friend went to Jaco. Jaco's okay. We didn't go to Punta Arenas because Punta Arenas is very known for people getting robbed or assaulted. So we just skipped Punta Arenas because also the beach has saltwater crocodiles, and we just didn't see ourselves really enjoying that very much. So we skipped that and we went to Hako. And it was a black beach. It wasn't anything special. I've seen a lot prettier beaches here in Southeast Asia. So then my best friend left, and I had to go back home for a while because the people that I had hired to take care of all my animals and my pets were not doing their job. And it was so frustrating because you the last thing you want to hear while you're on vacation loving your life is someone calling you and telling you one of your pets died, or they don't know where your snakes are, or it's just chaos, chaos, chaos. So I had to fly home and fix everything quickly. Both of my snakes were out of the tank. Why were my snakes gone? I knew exactly where they were. One of them was under the washing machine. So dangerous. Don't let your snakes do that. And then the other one was somewhere like curled up, somewhere. I just knew their personalities. I knew where they were. So I fixed it, took care of everything. I fired that girl and I yelled at her. Let's save that for later. But I went back to Costa Rica because I had this goal. I had this huge goal in my mind as a 22-year-old turning 23 that I wanted to go see a jaguar in the wild. I know it's so silly and it's so naive. Why would anyone ever go actively looking for a predator. Like, one of the most dangerous predators that you can come in contact with is a jaguar, because the way they kill their prey is they don't stalk you like a tiger does in the grass. They actually stay up in a tree and they drop on you from above. So they're ambush predators. They drop on you from above and they don't go for your neck. They don't go for your spinal cord the way other animals do. They go for your skull. So they put their hand and crush it like that because they have really good biting pressure. So I don't know why, but my bright idea was that I was going to go look for this animal and just look at it. I was going to go look at it. Okay? Don't do that. Don't go outside in the middle of the night looking for a jaguar, okay? But I was so determined. I was so determined that so I got back to Costa Rica and I left the capital immediately and I went to this little peninsula on the left side of Costa Rica. It's called Osa Peninsula. I highly encourage you to Google this peninsula because this one little speck of Earth has 2.5% of the entire world's biodiversity in that one little speck. And there's even different kinds of species of plants and animals and insects that are just geographically not confined, but they only live there. And it's protected. There's zones of the jungle where it's a primary jungle where has never been developed. It's super protected and it's even illegal to go there without a guide because it's dangerous. There's snakes, there's venomous snakes, there's predators, there's jaguars, there's spiders, there's all these things that could kill you, right? For some reason, my brain wanted to go there. So there's primary jungle, and then there's another layer called secondary jungle, which had been developed previously, years before, but had been overtaken again by the jungle and then reprotected. So it's legal to go into secondary jungle. That's as close as primary jungle you could get. And then there's just like regular life. So I went all the way to Drake Bay on a bus, and someone on the bus asked me why I was there. I told her, and she said, I know somebody. I know somebody that you would like. And then she connected me to this lady that I ended up making really good friends with. Her name is Ivy. Just like me. She has colored hair, tattoos, so interesting. Canadian, but speaks Spanish, and she's Spanish roots. Or not Spanish roots, but Hispanic. And I was in Drake Bay. There's so much to uncover about Drake Bay, really, and I'm even a little nervous because of the corruption. But you know what? Let's just go for it, right? During the daytime, there's a whole bunch of tourist things to do. You can go for a night walk. You can book a night walk. You could go whale watching. There's just so many different things. You could go snorkeling. I think you could even go fishing. So on my birthday, my 23rd birthday, I woke up really early in the morning and then I went and I watched whales. The, the way it's just so gorgeous. It's the entire thing, the entire story is just unraveling in my brain now and I'm remembering all the details. So I went and I saw some whales, they're humpback whales, and it was the season for all the mommies to give birth to their baby whales. So there's this bay called Drake Bay that's shallow, more shallow than the rest of the ocean. And because it's so shallow, it's warm. So they call it the womb for the whales. The whales go there to give birth. So we were just seeing mommy whales and mommy whales with their baby whales. And then I even saw a whole family of whales where it was the big daddy, Big Daddy coming to breathe, and then Big Mommy coming to breathe, and then little tiny baby coming to breathe. It was so adorable. It was the most beautiful thing that I could have done for myself just turning 23, right? These are not stories that regular 23-year-olds get to have. Caucasian activities, right? Privileged Asian Caucasian. But at night, Costa Rica, Osa Peninsula, Drake Bay becomes a completely different animal. And here's why. Even the police tell you not to go out at night. Even the little girls know when they watch you walking outside at night. They say, "Why are you going out at night?" Because there's one thing my friend told me. She's like, "Do you want to go missing?" I said, "No, I don't want to go missing." She said, "Then don't camp on the beach. We don't use guns here, baby. We're not American. We use machetes." And that's when it's all started to unravel how wild the jungle can be. And this was kind of my culture shock and unraveling this naivety of, oh, I'm going to just go to the jungle and look for a jaguar. It's different. There's so much more to it. And I realized, the only predator that I really need to be afraid of as a woman is genuinely like adult men. So once that realization started to set in, my friend actually told me, "You know what? You can come and live with me. You can come and stay with me." And she just started showing me the way of the land, introducing me to the local plants and people. And then I met this guy named Sandro, and he took me off into the middle of the jungle while it was raining. And he showed me how to catch shrimp in the river. You take a flashlight and you shine it into the water and you see their eyes. You see their eyes because their eyes are reflective the way a cat's eyes is. He gave me a rundown. Because I told him I was planning on camping, and he had been a tour guide for years and years and years. So he told me, "Do you even know anything about the land?" I didn't. So he said, "Don't step on leaf litter because we have very venomous snakes that look like leaves. Don't camp and set up your tent right next to the river because the river overflows when it rains." And same thing with the beach and all these things and the spiders and all these things. It's crazy because I just went head first. Excuse me. I just went head first, and I had no idea about all the things that could kill me. There's like 100 different things that can kill you in Costa Rica. And I just was confident. I was confident in my own ability to just, live my life. And so he gave me a crash course on how to stay alive, and it just gave me so much information that I would have never gotten in Vegas. And the relationships that I created with these people was so deep and emotional and learning for me. Wow. So during that night when we were walking back to the house, we had taken huge leaves to use as umbrellas. And then there was this really pungent smell, like a really dirty, wet dog. And when I smelled it, I was like, whoa, there's just a dog that just walked past the path. And then he smelled it. He said, "That's not a dog. That's a puma. A puma just walked past our path." And I just believed him because it's his land. He had never left that land, and he explained to me that pumas have a very strong scent of socks. They smell like socks or wet dog, and that was so close that we just it crossed our path. And after about one a couple seconds, the scent was gone. So it had just walked past us. And that even makes my skin stand thinking about it, that I was so close to a puma and it left us alone, you know. And there were so many instances with Sandro that he had taught me about the forest while we were walking. He said his eyes were more sensitive and his sense of smell was more sensitive because he was part of the forest. He would go, I smell horses. And then after a couple meters, like maybe, I don't know, 20, 40, 30 meters, we would cross horses. And he would go, I smell monkeys. And then after a couple minutes, we would see monkeys in the trees. It was insane to see this guy's senses just so heightened. He didn't even have a phone. He told me, would you marry a jungle boy? It's crazy that I was like 23 and some jungle boy just wanted me to stay. I I didn't feel like I wasn't ready. I was too young. But he carved my name into a rock. And he didn't even just carve my name into a rock. He drew a picture of a phoenix into a rock with a knife. And it was in the river. And I miss him. I miss him. I didn't have any relationship. I didn't kiss him. I didn't do anything with him, but I wish I could like still contact people like that because people really treat me with so much love. 1 second. Okay, now let's go talk about Ivy. Ivy was such a badass. She even showed me all her machetes. She pulled out all her machetes and she was like, "This one, my boyfriend gave me. Isn't it beautiful?" And it's this nice, beautiful black blade. And then she's like, "This one's for coconuts." And it's really messed up and jagged. And she cuts just part of the jungle with it. And then she pulled one out and she's like, "This one is for people." And it had the ridges, the ones that you wouldn't want to be stabbed with. And she had it. The reason why she had that one is because she volunteered for the Costa Rican military to protect the jungle from poachers. And the way they take care of poachers is they don't play with you. They're not going to throw you in jail. They're going to take care of you jungle style. So I was a little intimidated, but she was so tiny compared to me. And also, I'm a girl. I'm just a girl. She wasn't going to do nothing to me. She just took care of me. And I learned about Ayurveda. And this was when I had first started with the concept of using food as medicine because I had such a bad skin reaction. My skin was so hard to manage, and I have psoriasis. So my skin was so hard to manage that I just was trying everything. Like the plants, like we would make medicines from the plants, from the trees to put on my skin. We would make soups and teas, and I was doing everything that I could to learn about how to heal my body with what was around me and the environment and trees and all these things. And that was a journey within itself. But to kind of circle back to the type of animal that Osa Peninsula is at night. Mm, one of my friends told me, do you see any businesses around here? And I looked around and there's only some restaurants, but there isn't actually any businesses. She said, yeah, we don't make money with business. We don't even make money with tourism. That's just a front. We make money off of the cocaine trade that comes from Colombia, that is smuggled onto the bay of Osa Peninsula, Drake Bay. They bring it into the jungle, and then even the cops are the ones that smuggle it, take it from the bay into the mountains, that help ship it in up into Mexico and to the US, and that's like just part of the chain. And all of this information, just for me as a young person, was just so mind opening. And that I had thrown myself into the world, and this is what I was seeing. I was seeing the beauty of the jungle, but also the darkness of humanity, where people get caught up in drugs and greed and even profit, and make entire lives off of profiting off of something that could ruin people's lives that they've never even met. And it was a lot for me to process. You don't expect that kind of like information to be revealed to you while you're just bopping around in nature. And that's why it's so dangerous, is because everybody's on coke, and people also do SA to people who are way too young. And it's just, that's why they don't want you to go out at night, because there's like people lurking in the shadows that will hurt you. And it's not fear mongering, it's genuine. They genuinely did not want me to get hurt, so they told me all these things. And there was even this story that my friend told me, that there was just a few weeks ago that a man tried to steal another man's bicycle, and they just got in a fight, and one of them lost. So he went into the convenience store, and bought a machete. And what he did, he just took the machete and he fucking hacked, oh, excuse my language, he hacked the guy on the back. I can't believe I went 40 minutes without saying the F word. Nice. But he hacked him in the back, and the machete was in his back. So what did that guy do? That guy took a stick and he beat him to death. And he just kept beating him until he's bleeding and writhing on the floor. And no one stopped him. They all just gathered around in a circle, even the kids. The kids had an ice cream on a quad, eating an ice cream, watching this guy beat him with a stick. And even the police. The police were sitting and watching, and they were cracking a joke with the Colombian drug dealer, and that was normal. That was normal. And the guy who beat the guy with the stick to death, the guy wasn't completely dead, right? But the police told him, okay, you can go home, go take care of yourself. They put a weather blanket, a thermal blanket on top of the guy dying, and just let him writher under the blanket. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because that's just so wildly obscene to see how different cultures interact with death and crime. So that was definitely something to acknowledge, is that just because you're going into the jungle and you're looking for a predator with this naivety and this sparkle in your eye doesn't mean that you should be so naive that you accidentally put yourself in a position where you can really get hurt. Because they said, my my friend told me, if you go missing and they know you're American, they're not going to report anything. They're not going to let anybody know. And if anyone finds you, the vultures will find you first. The fish in the ocean will find you first. and they'll just throw away your passport and pretend like it never happened. So I had to be really aware of what I was doing and where I was going and how I was doing it. So when I did that, I just knew that I needed to go deeper into the jungle, because the deeper into the jungle you go, the less people there are. And it comes with its risks. Like, the closest hospital is 4 hours away on boat, and boat only comes once a day. Or, like, if someone decides to attack you and you're the only person there, like, those are the risks. But the upside is that you get to be isolated into the most beautiful, untouched, undeveloped jungle of your life. Right? Just imagine that. Just close your eyes with me and imagine going into this beautiful jungle that has its own ecosystem, 2.5% of the world's biodiversity. And you get to go there and you get to live there. That's your life. And if that's something that you want, if you just want to go and explore the world, like, these are all things that are readily available to all of us. There's no fear. No fear should be interfering with you going and experiencing new things. So I got on a boat to Hungla Jaguar, which is in secondary jungle. And when I got there, the people at the resort rejected me because I didn't have a reservation, which was so dumb. Yeah, Hungla Jaguar, I'm calling you out. I hope that you go out of business forever. But there was a woman that was really good to me there. But the manager was such an asshole. I had told him, "Oh, well, the boat rushed me and I lost something that was really important to me. Can we talk to them about it?" And he just told me, "You don't have a reservation," and he threw my passport at my chest. And I just looked at him and I thought to myself, I had like 10 grand in my bank account at that point, and I just looked at him and I was like, I could rent whatever effing room you have all month if I wanted to and still have money left. And I just felt so just disgusted. I didn't even want to give him my money at that point. That I was so glad that I had my tent, you know? If someone's going to just treat you like you are an outsider even though you have more than enough money to put a roof over your head, oh my god, I'd rather be homeless. So, I set up my tent on the beach, and let's just imagine this, right? There's this beautiful beach, no pollution, just gorgeous. And there's this beautiful waterfall right there, and noni trees and guava trees and swings on the trees, and it's just so beautiful, and tide pools everywhere. And I almost felt grateful that I didn't have to be in the resort paying jerks my money. So I lived on that beach and I foraged for guavas and I bathed in the ocean in the tide pools, and I saw mud skippers, those fish that have little feet that they get to be on land and jump back into the water. It was so amazing that I was looking at evolution right in front of me. I sat still in the tide pools and I let the ocean heal my skin. I put my ears under the water and I realized that the ocean is a body just like mine. And the water inside of it is the blood of earth. And there's all these different wisdoms that only silence in nature can give you. And while I was sitting in this tide pool, I got yelled at By what? You ask. I got yelled at by a macaw. A huge rainbow macaw. And it was so beautiful because I was so confused. I looked up into the tree, two pairs, two pairs of rainbow macaws staring at me. And they just yelled at me so that I would come and see them. So I observed them and I looked at them and I was just so in awe that they had their mates and they were with each other and loved each other and they just wanted me to observe them. And I perceived that as macaws being my neighbors. It was a really beautiful, beautiful experience to have macaws be my closest neighbors in a tropical paradise where baby whales get born into the water. And I get to shower in the waterfall and take a bath in these tide pools and hear the voice of earth in the water. A couple of days had gone by and I started running out of water and you can only eat so many guavas until the little worms in the guavas start to bother you. It's weird because when you open the guavas, they have like little worms in it and it's so gross. It's like to look at because in America you never get your plants or your fruits with any kind of anything in it. So it was just it was definitely an experience, you know? And I had vomit fruit, you know, those really potent medicinal fruits. And um, there was one night that I was laying in my tent and I was worried because it was really rainy and I thought maybe I had camped too close to the ocean. So I opened up my tent and I couldn't even see really that much because it was so dark and it was so pouring rain and there was so many bugs that just wanted to get into my tent. And under my rain capture, there's a layer over your tent that you do to make sure that it doesn't get wet. Right under my rain capture, there's this little scorpion just slowly walking to under my rain capture to stay dry. And I looked at it. I really like scorpions, but I looked at it and I was like, "Oh hell no!" So I laid back down and I just told myself, "Don't move." So I just went to sleep. I was so nervous, but um, I didn't even get to see a jaguar, but that area, an older woman came and she brought me a big stick and she said, "There's a puma who lives in this area. If you get any trouble, here's a stick for protection." And God bless her, really, because she was the only person that actually gave a hoot about my well-being while I was out there. And I think she was the owner of the property. It's crazy that she would hire such a jerk as a manager. I don't know if it was her son or something, but I hope he finds peace, has a relationship with God. Anyway, so that kind of concludes my experience inside the Osa Peninsula jungle. And I have a lot to attribute to Ivy for keeping me safe and letting me know of the human dangers that were afoot. I have a lot of gratitude for Sandro for everything that he showed me because he even took me to his family's farm where there was cocoa trees, there was coconuts, there was wild ginger, there was jungle ginger, there was just so many different things. We broke up a leaf and he made like a mud mask for my skin and everyone was aligned with my quest to heal my body. I found out later that the only way to heal my body, like I could eat as many good, healthy things as possible. The only real way that I was going to change it was to stop being so stressed out and get out of the toxic relationship that I was in. But that comes way later, way later. God bless Sandro. God bless Ivy. Ivy had a jaguar tattooed on the side of her head. So in a way, I felt like I had gone looking for a jaguar in this jungle and I had found it in this woman. And when I recognized that, I recognized part of me went looking for a jaguar, but part of me ended up being that wild beast in the jungle, in the forest, being the jaguar. You know why I was looking for the jaguar? Because there's this essence, this symbol, the symbolism of a jaguar. She lives in the darkness. She's camouflaged so well. She will see you always before you see her. She will know you're there. And if she wants you to see her, you will. But most of the time, you won't. Even if she's there, you won't know. She's in the jungle hiding. And what that means to me is being so comfortable in your own darkness and your fears and facing your fears, because as children we're so afraid of the dark and we're so afraid of the unknown, and even going to different countries is unknown, going to undeveloped cocaine bays is unknown and scary. These are all things that are like the dark side of humanity, the dark side of reality, and it all coexists on the same plane that the good stuff does. The same place where baby whales get born is the same place where a whole bunch of people can smuggle drugs, and that's just life. And it was so eye-opening, and I needed that because the life experience in that brought me to go home and get rid of everything that I had, everything that I owned. I sacrificed everything that I owned for my own freedom. Yeah, loaded, guys, loaded story. And I'm trying to think before I left Costa Rica, I left the jungle and I had came back and I met the guy that I had met with my friend a month prior. And I just felt so tired. I felt like I had been through years and years and years of just nomadicness, and it really wasn't that long. And then I got reacclimated to the city. He took me to some really amazing hotels that had jacuzzis in the room and waterfall showers, and the bed was super clean and everything was just perfect. We were in the jungle, and even in the resort was a jaguar enclosure, so I did get to see a jaguar, just not a wild one. And there was a butterfly habitat and all these things. It just closed my journey in the most beautiful way possible. So, what I would say I learned and what I would like to share at the end of this story, because I'm about to start wrapping up. Take the leap, make sacrifices. Sacrifices are hard and difficult and uneasy, but a lot of times freedom and the people that you meet are going to make you way more fulfilled than that whatever you own. Whatever you own. And do it while you're young, because we don't know. We never know. We never know when it's all going to be done and when it'll all come to a close. When people die, be right before they die, they regret all the things they didn't do, you know. So if you have this inclination to go and see the world, or you just feel this inclination, you have to see this one place, or you have to go and find a jaguar off in the jungle. You might not see the jaguar in the jungle, but the journey of getting there will give you so much wisdom, maybe even a couple scars, but also wisdom. And what I learned how to heal my body with food and the concept of Ayurveda. I learned how to make potions and with just the plants of the environment, and I just learned that duality is just what makes some places so beautiful. You know? It's not just beauty and happiness. There's also death and destruction and addiction and all these things that come in the same package of life. So make the right choices. Make the right choices for yourself. Eat healthy. Stay alive. Make friends. That's all I really have to say for this one, guys. But that was Costa Rica 2023. And I have many, 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 many more countries to talk about. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening for so mother freaking long. Good night, or good morning, or good evening, or good afternoon, or good soup.